Hi, Dan Paulson here. I got an idea for a new video series where I just take one verse and interpret it from anywhere. I'm going to start today with one from Lao Tzu. And if you're interested in what I'm doing, I've got a number of videos already posted. You can just go ahead and look through the playlist if you're interested. I've got where I'm doing this kind of interpretation with Lao Tzu, the Buddha, and Jesus. At any rate, let's go ahead and just jump into this one verse right here then. And I'm going to be using the Tao Te Ching. It's from Lao Tzu. If you don't know, that name just means the old master. Lao Tzu may never have existed. That's okay. We're looking at a body of work here. So that's all we're concerned with. And I'm using the translation by Gia Fu Feng and Jane English, who she actually just did the photography in there. Verse 33, knowing others is wisdom. Knowing the self is enlightenment. Mastering others requires force. Mastering the self needs strength. He who knows he has enough is rich. Perseverance is a sign of willpower. He who stays where he is endures. To die, but not to perish, is to be eternally present. Before I start, I'll let you know I'm using a very specific method to interpret these verses. They play out in the psyche, and I'll stick with that. I will not be invoking any supernatural or anything like that. The soul, the spirit, whatever we have to interact with is going to be a mental process, and that's how I'm going to interpret these. That doesn't mean that I'm right. This is theory, but this is interactive. So if we look at the verse, the first thing I want to note is, we see it says, knowing others is wisdom, knowing the self is enlightenment. That's kind of weird, knowing others. Why would you want to know others? You want to know yourself, really, right? That's the biggest thing we're looking for. Look at the next line. Mastering others requires force. Mastering the self needs strength. Yeah, we see what happens when you try to master others, and it does require force. And there's something that is observable here, and it shows up a lot in Lao Tzu's work and Jesus's as well, his verses. The first one, knowing others is wisdom, that is looking outward. Then the next line, knowing the self is enlightenment, out, in. Mastering others requires force, mastering the self requires strength. I look at these because they're so common as kind of a layering instruction in there to turn from outward looking to inward looking, from outward looking to inward looking. You'll see these where they kind of seem funny that way. You think, why does it start with looking outward and end up with looking inward? And if you read through these, you'll find that happen. So knowing the self is enlightenment. That's really what we want to do right here. We're looking for enlightenment and knowing the self. But what does that mean? Don't we know ourselves? Maybe, maybe not. This is it is not cryptic. It is very plain language, but you still have to extract what they're talking about. And of course, each line is not standalone. It's a body of work. So we'll look at it a little bit more. Mastering the self needs strength. So we want to master ourselves. And I'm going to start by saying we're already at verse 33. We're into Lao Tzu's work. If you're familiar or if you're not familiar, right in the beginning, he tells us that naming is the origin of all things. And when that plays out in the psyche, what that means is that as soon as you start having experiences and you classify them as good, bad, shame, hate, hurt, love, joy, whatever, that you are beginning to become that right there. And that is what we become, and that is how our life flows. That is how we flow in life. So that is happening before we get here. Now he's telling us at this point, knowing the self is enlightenment. We want to know what that stuff is up there. And sometimes it's fine, but often life isn't okay. Things don't work out right. We're hurt. We have a bundle of things inside of us that we don't want to deal with. And unbeknownst to us, if we don't pay attention, that is affecting our life. That's making our life unfold in the way that it is. So we want to know that stuff for enlightenment. We want to observe it, not hide it, but to illuminate it, to bring it out into the light. Mastering others requires force. If we master yourself, You don't worry about mastering others. And if you find enlightenment yourself, what does Jesus say? If you want to take the splinters out of your brother's eye, take the beam out of your own eye first, then you'll see clearly. We don't need to know others. If we know ourselves, then we see what's going on. So we can just not even worry about that first line. The deeper lesson here is the inner self-looking lesson. Mastering the self needs strength. So yeah, going after those things that we don't want to deal with is going to require strength. We got a fear wall up against it. Think about what you have that you hold inside of you, perhaps, that is causing your life to cycle in some derogatory manner, and you don't want to deal with it. Mastering the self needs strength. He who knows he has enough is rich. Verses like this are scary for people sometimes. They're like, okay, I'm supposed to be poor. I bring it into the psyche. We're looking to have a rich or poor, this up here, this place that we have created that has become us based on the perceptions that we hold from our life experiences. That is what is important. We don't want that filled up. We want that as empty as possible. We don't want to be connected with a lot of things in life because we flow with those things in life. We want to disconnect from the things that we're anchored to, that keep us going on a bad course, and that's what we're looking for, is having minimal there in the psyche. Remember, we're going to interact with it. What does Jesus say? If you're familiar with him, he's got an identical one. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Spirit, we have to interact with it. It's our thinking. Blessed is the poor. You'll see the kingdom of God. You will be happy if you get rid of this stuff up here. And what's that going to take? Well, it says perseverance is a sign of willpower. I'm not quite sure exactly how to take that one, but I do know this, that from myself, coming from a place where I was wired really in a way that I needed to get a hold of. I was wired with a lot of anger and a lot of things like that was not going to be okay in life. And just by becoming aware of that didn't make it go away. It's really deep sometimes. You have to keep at it. And I still have to keep at it sometimes. He who stays where he is endures. I think that's it. I think that's the story. If we're really trying to change who and what we are from our past, then it's going to take some work. It's not going to be an overnight thing. It's not going to be listening to a frequency to clear out your third eye chakra. It's going to take some serious work. And then to die but not to perish is to be eternally present. We know that that's in the psyche playing out in there. What we want to die, that old self is what we want dead. We want to be able to let go of that and be free of that, so that our past that was hurtful is no longer a part of us. It'll still be there as memories. We have to change the way we feel about it. To die but not to perish. We're dying a death of our spiritual death, but we're not perishing in life, is to be eternally present. When you get rid of that stuff, your mind stops scattering all over the place. But moreover, if you go through the entire Tao Te Ching, you will realize that there's still more layers in there, that not only will it improve your life and the way that you feel, but it changes the way your life experiences, the way the Tao, the way you flow through life, the way your life experiences is going to be based largely at wherever you come from, on the quality in which you are holding your memories up here. Whether you want to deal with them or not, doesn't matter. The quality of that is what is causing your life to unfold, and that in making improvements in this and getting rid of that stuff, that your quality of life changes as well. Okay, a quick review before we end. Knowing the self is enlightenment. Mastering the self needs strength. So knowing what you are made of and how you're made, and the structure of who and what you are based on your memories and your experiences and how you hold them, when you know that, you find enlightenment. But mastering that needs strength. He who knows he has enough is rich. You don't need more. You don't need to keep gathering more things. So we're trying to empty out that place, not fill that place up. And that place is our memories, our experiences, how we feel. Perseverance is a sign of willpower. He who stays where he is endures. It's going to take work to get through it. And you want to die to that, to move on. There it is. That's enlightenment in a nutshell. We find this teaching elsewhere. And that's what I extract, again, from using this procedure. And in doing this, it also reveals that, all of the other similarities that we see in ancient text and think, why is that there? Are they copying some? It's this. They're all teaching this. The masters, gurus, and sages of their time, they all knew this. And they were friends. They didn't care what color or religion they were. They knew this. But they knew their people wouldn't get it. So they're building it in. Well, anyway, I go off on that. Why do I do that? Anyway, okay, I hope this was fun. It was for me. It was just an idea I had maybe to make some shorter videos to see if they would be of more interest. Anyway, until the next video, love one another, and I'll see you then.